as it took in the world, it is an unbelievable merger of evil, good and evil. You know? It's an unbelievable confrontation that's taking place in the whole world. You know, the Koiches Hatui are immense with the Koiches April, and they're all sort of coming to this huge, what you might call, showdown. You know, this unbelievable, like final, settling of the score. And the Koyach HaToiv is being nidchel al yedei the Rebbe. Bilti shum sofik. You can see it. Everything's from the Rebbe. All the Koyach HaToiv in the world is from what the Rebbe put into the world. It's gradually moving into an immense collision with the Ra. If I make a bilti sofik, it'll be matzliach. It'll be menatzeach, a gadol. Okay, so we're holding by Simon Reish Gimel. And even if you don't remember, then I do. That's where we're holding on Omid Tuf Yud Aleph. Omnom, so we had up to now, and we drew a whole difference between the two koiches of Rotzen V'Oineg. But that's an amazing hashgacha, but at that particular time we were learning the same inyonim in Samavov. What it's going on at the Samavov in Pasha Lech Lecha, Pasha Vayera, there's a big arichas about the two koiches of Tainu, Rotzen and the Hevdel B'neihem and Amshocha Me'etzem Anefesh and Ketzad Oifen Amshocha Zu, what's the interrelation, etc. etc. So in this previous us in Reish Beis, we had a lengthy discussion about the two koiches atzmiyim of the nefesh, and we saw that they were mamish atzmiyus and nefesh kipshute, and the rotzen was what we called hatoyas and nefesh, and the inen of oineg was the vekis and the aliyah of the nefesh kilu be avshotosa v'reima musa mitzad atzmo. In other words, it's proper to say that Rotzen and Oinig are the Etzem HaNefesh. Now we go on, so the Rebbe now says, Omnom Koyach HaChochma Hare Eno Atzmas HaNefesh. Now how do we get here to the relationship between Atzmas HaNefesh, the Rotzen V'Oinig, and the Inyan HaChochma? We brought down in the previous chapters, if you remember, we brought down Bariches, the Maimah HaZoyah, that Chochma Stimoa is Kilu the Emesa Mamutza between the two Madregas in Keser. In other words, that even though we say that Keser is made up of two Madregas, Atik V'Arich, and that they're the Mamutza Sheva Keser, however, we pointed out Arich is that Muvdolim Zemizeh. If you remember, we had the whole Biyah B'Kesher Lezeh, that Atik being as Bechina Taktoina Sheba Ma'atzil, and Arich being the Indian for Rosh Haner Tzolim, it's already a Indian for Prat, Klau, Aprotim, then they themselves are Muvdolim Zemizeh. So what really is the Mamutza? A Mamutza is something that in Yoni is L'chaber, being the Atzmus HaMaitzel and the Spheres Aliyah and Atzila. It's L'choira, these two Inyonim can't really be Mechaber, no one is shot to one and one is shot to the other. What is the actual Dova HaMachaber, the Atzmus to the Rosh HaNetzolim? So the Rebbe said we have to have some Bechina that will have Yesh Bo Inyan Atzmus, but Gam Yesh Bo Inyan HaNetzolim, Mashachin Atik doesn't really have the Netzolim, and Arich it doesn't really have from the Atzmus. So you remember the whole piyah that we had. So therefore, from the Zohar, it's mashma that Chochma is the emes, but it can't be Chochma because Chochma that Silas is already a prat in the spirit. So therefore, we said it was Chochma Stimua. In other words, Chochma Sheba Arich, the union of Chochma, how it is as the beginning of all the Spirit Sheba Arich. Well, that's really be Amiti, that's the Dova HaMachaber. So it comes out if he said that there's a certain gilui of the Atzmas in Chochma Stimua, b'mayla Yisera, how it is in Atik Mami. Because it's a gilui of the Atzmas still preserving in itself the Atzmas, but in Azar even that it's already become, as it were, a Inyan specific, well that's the Inyan for Chochma, and it's able through that to be Yer B'Teich HaProtim, of Ali Dezeh, Mamish Lehischaber Ima Es Spirit. Aber we have to say that the inyan from Chochmas Timor is mamish, the inyan from Atik, Tainu, it's mamish the inyan from Oineg, V'Tainu, and Tainu is the immediate inyan Apnimis Ve'atzmiyas. However, it's got in itself as a inyan that there's an atiyah el haprak. In other words, the etzem has become like the prak, and that's a tremendous what you might call kunz or uftu in the inyan from Chochmas Timor. So first of all, we pictured at some length that beer that we had to come to a point, and then we went in Reish Beis to the two inyanim, or even prior to that a bit, that the two koiches of Tainu v'Rotzen, what their mamish the inyan from Atzmiyas, and now we're getting on to Chochmah. We're going to discuss the inyan from Chochmah. And once we discuss the inyan from Chochmah, then we'll be able to describe how Chochmas Timor, the Pnimis v'Atzmiyas of Chochmah, how it'll relate to the inyan of Oineg, and how Ali Dezeh we'll be able to describe it as the Amitis Amamutza between Atik v'Arich and Mamela, the Amitis Akesher with the inyan of the Esesphiris, and Mamela, the Amitis Amamutza bein Oirein Seif L'Ner Tolim. Im came what you need the inyan of Oineg v'Rotzen, the inyan from Atik, because Bli inyan Gile Oineg Beklau, Bli inyan HaOineg, then there's Beklau no you read of what, there's no Kilu inyan of the Atzmas having any kesher with the Ner Tolim. So first of all, you need the Gilui Oineg, and then after you have the Gilui Oineg, there's a inyan what the Oineg produces, a inyan which is able to remain a inyan shol Oineg of Aful Pikain. It's got a relationship to the prat, because Oineg be'etzim minyonai is nifshat and nimshach l'mayla bo'ivim gazeh, that Oineg tends to avoid the inyan of protein, and therefore we saw that Tainu Ga'atzmi is mufshet mikol tziyur, and it's mitzad the etzem. Kavioch the etzem is misanik b'ha'etzem, and that's what we saw, what he calls in some of all the etzem Tainu Ha'poshut. So what we need is how that etzem Tainu Ha'poshut, Aful Pikain, remaining as it is, a inyan from Tainu, and remaining to a certain extent in its pshitos, nonetheless becomes inyan, and I use the diuk of the word becomes, we'll see that's mamish the pshat, that it becomes inyan which is chokhmah, which means that we're going to see that the emes of kunz in the whole chassidus is chokhmah. That's what I heard from my mashpiyim, that the emes of kunz in all the inyanim is chokhmah. Ki chokhmah is going to be the inyan from oineg, and yet aful pikain, it's going to be the beginning of the appearance of the specific. In other words, that how the Eibishter is mishalev biatzmei shnei ha'inyonim really happens in this whole koach hachok. So in order to get to that, first of all we have to describe the mile of chokhmah, which is what happens here. Omnam koach hachokmah harei einu atzmus hanefesh. The Rotzen v'Tainu, we saw they were the inyan from atzmi mamish, and they were either the amshocha of the etzem or the rimam esferlias ha'etzem. Rak koach me'hanefesh, שגם שרש ומוקר כוח החוכמה גם בשרש הראשון שאינו בבחינס מוקר לשכל גלוי einoi atzmas hanefesh. Now when he says she'eino b'chinas mocher l'seichel hagolui, l'chora he means the inyan from koyach hamaskil, or even l'mayla, the koyach hamaskil how it's mushash in the etzem, but that's what we call the koyach ha'hiyuli ha'atzma. Even there, it's not mamish atzmas hanefesh. Now that's something we have to get clear, that chokhmah, with all the milas we're going to see in it, sof kol sof chokhmah is a gilui from the nefesh. It's a koyach, and the word koyach means a specific, defined gilui from an etzem. That's what the word koyach means. And if I say koyach ha-chokhmah, then I can't say that chokhmah is mamish atzmas hanefesh. We have to say that it's a form of gilui. You guys don't find that air conditioner a bit cold? The body? Okay. It's making me cold. Oh no, you do it. But if you turn it off, it'll probably be stuffy in here. I don't know. Yeah.
Where's Chokhmah Stima?
Oh, that's what we're talking about. We'll soon see.
It's higher than the Koach Hayuli?
You mean where's Chochmas Timor in these inyonim? Yeah. Now Chochmas Timor is connected with the union of. So maybe you have to open the window a little bit. Did you turn it off or you turned it down?
No, I turned the thermostat.
You turned it down.
The thermostat's up, so.
Huh?
The thermostat I turned up.
Stuff?
I turned up the thermostat.
What's the thermostat?
That means that when it gets too cold, it turns off, and
I got it. It's, so the emes is that Chochmas Timor is connected with Koyach HaMaskil, as they state in Kamal Kemis. The Koyach HaYulia Atzmi, well, that's another madrega that's what we might say, how the union of the spheres, how they are in Arich, are in the Keshesh of Arich. In other words, the Rotzen, which brings to these colors of Arich, also has in itself how all these spheres of Arich are colored by. Of Chochmas Timor is already the union of the Koyach HaMaskil. Well, that's already how it's already begolo, and that's what's important here. We're going to see that Chochmas Timor Sof is a giloi. It's already the Koyach HaChochma, how he is in a state mufshet from the Koyach HaChochma Datzila. But the Koyach HaNatui B'Ha'etzem, Natur B'Ha'etzem, well, that would probably be in what we call here the Gulgota. You remember we spoke about the Gulgota, and we said that was the union from Rotzen to Arich, as it were. But that, even though that's a higher madrege, it's not the what you might call the kunz of Chochmas Timor. B'sher Sharishain, she'ena b'pchinas mokel ha'seichel koloi, einoi atzmas ha'nefesh. Omnom, yedua she'hanefesh nikras nefesh ha'maskelet. V'hu mipnei she'koyach ha'chochma misacheid im ha'nefesh. Nonetheless, despite the fact that Chochma is a koyach, and therefore it's not mamish atzmas hanefesh, it's a gilui mia atzmas hanefesh. Nonetheless, he said, we find that the nefesh is called al shema chochma, nefesh hamaskelet, which means that the nefesh and the seichel l'chora are one inyan. How does that have with the fact that it's not atzmas hanefesh? So the Rebbe said that's because that the nefesh, the inyan from seichel or Koyach HaChochma is misacheid im hanefesh. It literally unites itself and becomes one with the nefesh. What's written over there is Dort state that the Reishis Kol HaKoyches, which is the union of Koyach HaChochma, well, that's misacheid im hanefesh. Now we're going to see that there's a door k'tzat plutei muvan over there in the Likutei Torah. When you look up over there, he says that all of the koyches in the nefesh, even though he mentions chochma, is reishis hakoyches. He said all the koyches are klulim in the etzem hanefesh, and the mispashet me hanefesh b'derech iskal shelehem. But that is pashtus remains tachas hadveikis with the etzem koyches hadaya kshulim uklulim b'toich ha'etzem. With that he establishes that the koyach ha'chochma is misached im hanefesh. So when you look at that, if you study that carefully, then you remain with a difficulty. All the koyches are like that because he describes all the koyches. And the only way that that the Lashon over there in the Likutei Torah somewhat covers it slightly is by saying that the union from Chochma is Reishis or Rishon Shebakol HaKoyches. So maybe that's hinting that it's got some milah in the fact that it's Reishis Shebakol HaKoyches. But the type of union between Chochma and the Nefesh over there is common to all of the Koyches. So I looked up in the Mara Mekemis over there in the Likutei Torah and bediuk bull. Habe ich gefunden, jemand gefragt auf die Schaß. That's the and soon we're going to see, I'll leave the question to a little bit further. We're going to see, hopefully in a few lines that we'll manage to learn, that the Rebbe over here covers this, he gets out of that question. And therefore he just quotes you the Likutei Torah, but now, Alidei come assures that he's going to write here, or that problem over there in Likutei Torah becomes Mishyashe. And that's what they write over there. Mamsha, I was very pleased to find it, that they write over there in that Mari Mokim in Likutei Torah, Upamesha Kosef, Tov Reishayim Beis Tach, Tov Yudalav, Mishyashe over there. What the Rebbe Rashab writes here, it fixes that up. So I managed to swear off my fault, because I couldn't sort of quite, I couldn't quite figure it, how do the things come together. But let's read, and we'll see how does the Rebbe, how does he make that good? In other words, in Likutei Torah, Bapashtas is just describe the etzem yichud of a koyach with an nefesh. And he says that that's in koyach ha-chochma, because that's what he's dealing with over there in that part of the Maimon. Aber l'chora, you can ask l'chora that sha'at over the koyach. The kilu b'mei yisrain koyach ha-chochma, that you say that he's mamish misachid im ha-nefesh, ad sha-nefesh nikra asel al shmoy. So that's what he goes ahead now and says to Rabbi. And here it's a dva pili. He says, well, l'chora, hari kol ha-koyach misachid im ha-nefesh. That's mamish the side, you follow? That's mamish what comes out of Likutei Torah over there. Yeah, l'chora, hari kol ha-koyach misachid im ha-nefesh. That's like a shaila in the Likutei Torah. He quotes the Likutei Torah, and the L'chora is not just a hemshech in the Maimah. It's like a shaila in the Likutei Torah to help you get into what he really wants to say. Ach, says the Rebbe, zehu mishum. Why do we say that the nefesh is called nefesh hamaskel, and the yichud a chachma with the nefesh is a yichud nifla Yosef Mikol Shari HaKoichos Mishum de Metzias HaChochma Sheboi U Mitzad Mailis Mahus HaNefesh Atzmai. That is another word. The Rebbe said that the fact that there's Chochma in the Nefesh, or is it Mitzad the Etzem Maila of the Etzem HaNefesh? And the Etzem Maila of the Etzem HaNefesh, that's what is the Sibba to the fact that there's Chochma in the Nefesh. But Kumtais is not just the way all the other koyachas are misyachid with the Nefesh, but that's mitzad the etzem maila of the etzem, that the etzem's got in itself as a maila that leads to the Gilui HaChochma, or leads to the Matthias HaChochma. Chochma is misyachid with the etzem, because the etzem is nikras al shem HaChochma, because the maila of the etzem brings to Chochma. If it's not just that there's an etzem and Chochma is misachid with the etzem. No, there's a maila of the etzem, be'etzem mahusai, what that bring, that's a reason almost, or it's a cause why the nefesh is called nefesh hamaskeles, meaning that the Chochma benefesh is the story of the maila of the etzem nefesh. So Eid Levot of it's a pellet. With that, the Rebbe answers what he means over there in the Likutei Torah. That's my tell the Rebbe, even though he doesn't say it, Mamish Bo'is Yisaylo. V'inenu, Daharei ha'odom muvdo mikol Balei HaChaim. That we find, Begoli, that the Odom is muvdo mikol Shari Balei HaChaim, B'koyach HaChochma Sheboi. Yeah? Daharei Midas, yeah, Tiviyim Yesh B'Balei HaChaim Gamke. Yeah, Midas, yeah, Mitzad HaNefesh Shalahem. We find also by the Balei HaChaim. But remember that what a mensch has midas, it's a mivne nafshoy. Not in that he's different than the Balei Chaim. His midas are different than the Balei Chaim in that they can be ruled by the Inyan HaSeichel. But remember that's mitzad the fact that he has the Seichel, and that Seichel is madil him be'erah from the Balei Chaim. Ukemoshe gam ha'bahima nimsheches achrei bano. We find midas tiviyim which are similar to those that are by Bnei Adam. And we see that a behemoth, how do you call it, protects and is drawn after its young, with a tremendous devekes. Well, like we see in the pasuk, "Ukemoi livnei oida vashi yikrohu," she marachim al bonav. That livnei oida vashi yikrohu. When the little crows call, and the mother has to provide. She's prepared to do anything in order to provide for them. Yeah, but remember the Posse compares the way the Eibishter looks after us. Yeah, all we have to do is just open our mouths and the Eibishter, drops in. How do we say? We see then that the Iyar has this tremendous commitment to its children, that all they do is open their mouths, and miyad mitzad the midas harachmonis al banov, it fulfills their needs. Uberfat hanesher shehu rachmoni, even more so when they get to the nesher, as it brought down in Rashi, that he not only feeds them, but when he flies in the air, he carries them on his shoulder, or she carries them on the wings, and that in order that if anybody's going to shoot a chait or any other damaging Indian, that'll hit her rather than hit the sons. So we see that the Rachmanis at the Nesher is even higher than the Rachmanis at the Oidev. It's not just in Michael or Mishteh, but it's also in the Etzem Metzias HaChaim, that the mother is prepared to endanger its own life rather than have the children in danger. So we have to ask the Shaila, why did the Rebbe choose Dafki that dogma? He wanted to say that the midas are in the Balei Chaim pictures even as they are in the Odom, and midas Tivium in the Balei Chaim are bedimian to how they are by the Odom, and therefore the only eminent difference is in the Indian Chochmah. Why did he choose that Indian? So Plachori might have tained that Eino Hanami, the Balei Chaim have midas, but they have midas be'ikar b'negeh li'inyonom hein. I mean, they love things, they hate things, they're concerned about their own materials, they're frightened of things, they take care, they have rachmones, be'ikar ulai al atzmom or al chaponim al inyonim mesuyomim, aber tu b'negeh li'atzmom. Of another entity that they should mamish care and even have what you might call even self-sacrifice for another entity, does make you fitness. And you can say maybe you find that only b'nei Odom, and maybe that's mitzad koyach hachochma b'nei Odom. And in fact, what the Rebbe is saying is that the desire to look after another being which is shaykh to you, dahainu b'no, or the young, that's a union which is a chiddush in the Balei Chaim, that they care about something else. But that's also a union we find, and that we find by Bnei Odom, and we would expect it by Bnei Odom. The Rebbe is saying, but that's not a union from Milas HaSeichel, that's a union from Milas HaMidas, and Kilo in Midas Gufa, it's a higher echelon in the Gila HaMidas. It's not just Midas, how they are Regish Atzmai. It's a care and a desire for the welfare of another being, that's not mitzad the etzem maila, of something beyond midas. That's also in midas gufa the yesh tavach hazeh. Therefore, even though it's a self-interested thing and a disinterested thing, like he brings it down from the nesha, what the nesha mamish takes the child on its shoulder in the form of an inyan for Mesiras Nefesh, the chiddush is that that's also midas. It's not an inyan for his bonanas or haskolas is a seichel koshu. No, that's an inyan for midas. In other words, the fact that a being worries about its own offspring, even to the point of Mesiras Nefesh, that's shayat to inyan midas. It's not shayat to is a maila miyal inyan midas. It's just that in midas kufa, this is a higher, what you might call a higher plane in the union for medicine. Therefore, in the brackets, the Rebbe points out that you can't say that's the Maila of Bnei Odom, that they already begin a new story, that they care about other entities. No, we find that even in Balei Chaim. And when it comes to entities which are mitzad the blood, then that's the union for medicine. To be concerned, Mamish and Arifa from Gemilus Chasodim, then that's already a Maila in Bnei Odom. We don't find it in behemoths that they have gemachim, they run around looking after other, behemoths for chayas, and they're forming groups, to run gemachs and loans and ashpoya, etc., etc. Maybe among certain rare animals that they might split up to spoil. If there's food, they might divide it up amongst themselves. But the Nekuda is dafki in offspring, dafki something which is shaykh to their own being, they have the inyan of caring about the other entity. But that's all a inyan shel midas, ein b'zeh inyan shel what you might call distinguishment or havchona. What havchona is very shayk to say. V'yisron ha'odam ala balei chayim b'seichel v'da'as sheboi. Therefore the yisron of a ben odam is dafke mitzad the inyan from seichel v'da'as. V'hainu, says the Rebbe, where does that come from? Mitzad ma'us nafshoi shehi nefesh ha'odam. He said this is nish because the koyach ha'chochma is miyuchad with the nefesh mitzad the yichud of the koyches more than what the other koyches. But that's the kasha. All the koyches mitzad the etzem yichud of koyches with nefesh als mokya koyches all of them are miyuchad. The Rebbe said this is mitzad the maila of the odam. The hainu wasn't the maila, so he writes in brackets. The shor shoy mibchinas pnei odam shebemerkavo. Or he mibchinas odam ha'elyon she'ala kisei. In other words, that he's another. The shorish of the bnei, the balei chayim, those are from or pnei shor, or pnei nesher, or pnei either the inyan from pnei pnei adiyah. But all the shorish of the balei chayim in those malachim hadayar in olam habriya, all of them are an inyan which is only shot to balei chayim. But in them, Gufa, there's a special inyan which is pnei odam le'abosan, and that inyan from pnei odam is a dover muvdal be'etzem minyone mi kol ha'moki sheyesh le'inyone balei chayim mitzad ha'malachim. But mitzad that yisron maila there is in pnei odam shebemerkova, or in the Odam ha'elyon shel Akisei. Odam ha'elyon shel Akisei means Atzilus. And the whole inyan of Atzilus is Chokmah. Kiyadua. Amavur, Bahavi Mekayim is considered. But the mitis inyan from Olam ha'Atzilus is inyan is the inyan ha'Chokmah. Amavur, Odam shel Akisei means the Olam ha'Atzilus. Amavur, Shorish ha'Odam Sokosoch. Shorish Nafsha is in Atzilus. And therefore, the Rebbe, it's not mitzad the fact that the etzem yichud at a koiches mit the mokya ha-koiches in the nefesh is any different. Why do we say it is different? Not mitzad that, no, mitzad the fact that in the etzem inyan of the nefesh ha'odam there's a maila mitzad etzem ham shochas v'gilui nafshoi that it comes from a level which yesh b'zeh inyan ha-chochma. In other words, not that he just has chochma as one of his koiches. No, Chochmah is part of his etzem mivnei nefesh mitzad the shorish how it is l'mayla in Elokus. It's a very amazing idea. Mit the mit werd veranderd that whole diuk in the Kutit. And that's what they write in the Alidei Kosu Kan is the Mishyashe. Okay. Yesh al kain. In other words, mitzad the fact that he's from a zah level, which is b'yemes odom, and it's one on the odom is begematria ma. Odom is indicatory at the inyan haseichol. Al kain yesh boi chochma v'seichol. In other words, not the fact that chochma is just one of the koiches. It is, but why is there klal the whole inyan from? Because it comes from a zah level in Elokus where the ikka is chochma. And since he comes from a zah level in Elokus where the Ika is Chokmah and Kol Metziyusei Nikr Al Shem HaChokmah. And that's why he's called Nefesh HaMaskeles. The Yichud of Chokmah with Nafshe is the Etzem. It's what you might call definitional. That's what he is. B'etzem Ma'usa. B'derech Klau, says the Rebbe, Mipnei Shenafshoi Mibchinas HaTikun. That's really another aspect of the same idea. That since Sokosof Odom ha'elyon shel Akisei means Atzilus, and what is Atzilus? Inyan Atikun. De'aika hu b'tikun b'chinas ha'chochma, hu b'chinas shema. Like we just pointed out, the Odom is b'gematria ma. In other words, that it's Mavurin, so the behemoths are tacha from Toyu. And in Toyu, what that means is we're not playing down the behemoths. We're not saying they don't have a shorish in Elokus. They do have a shorish in Elokus. Their Shoirish is where the Midas are Bizgabras. And that was the whole Shvira in Olam HaTorah, was Mitzad Bizgabras of the Midas. In other words, that each Indian is a separate Indian. The Moichin and the Midas don't have this unbelievable interrelation where the Moichin become the whole story and everything is bottled v'nichlal in the Indian HaMoichin. Over the Adam, since he comes from Tikkun, then he's Nimshach on a level with co-Indian, what you might call the Ike Oirach Atzilus, he who Shemaz, we say on Friday, the whole Mahus Indian of Olam HaTikkun is Chochmah, and everything in the whole Olam HaTikkun is Kilu governed and is Nimshach and Mishtalshu, Me Indian HaChochmah. And the father said that since he comes from Tikkun, therefore there's an Indian in him which Chochmah is the Ike Shaboy. And that's Kilu Mitzad Etzem Am Shechosei. Yeah, that's where he gets the Indian HaChochmah. And Mamela Chochmah is one of the koyches of it's not just a koyach like another koyach. Doesn't Mitzad the Etzem definitional Hagdorah of his nefesh, where it comes from in other words. And the same with the Balei Chaim, since they come from Toyu, and therefore by saying it's another Seder, and therefore the Indian for Moichin Etzlam who Kilo Beherim who Bavshota English Yachas Pnimi to the Indian. And therefore he says, Kamoi, now he brings another dogma to this from the Minyan Adibor. Now here's a very fascinating in where the Rebbe takes in account both miles. Because sometimes we say that the mile, the Ike mile of the Odom is the Chochmah, is Indian Shema. In other places we find that the principal mile of the Odom is that he's a Medaber. And that you can't really find anything greater or better in the mensch than the Koyach HaDibur. Once again, we don't find the Koyach HaDibur by other Balei Chaim Klal. Even though we find it by parrots and things like that, but that's how they call it a strange Koyach that one can chazer in with them. They have the ability to produce certain sounds, bedimian to the sounds that Bnei Adam produce with their dibur. But not that they really speak. I mean, they repeat over certain noises or sounds that they heard, and they can sort of make it sound as if it's our initial dibur. But not, it's not really dibur. Even though sometimes it's quite remarkable when you hear a parrot talk if it does it properly.
Couldn't Shlomo HaMelech understand how the animals were talking?
Yeah, that's an underman. That's a besonder Indian. That doesn't mean to say that they really speak. What it's written in the Kisvei Arizal is that when the guys they already burnt the Sefer Torah by Heichal. It was by Bayis Rishon. By Sheni. But they burnt those Sifrei Torah in the Heichal. Then all the Oisias went out into the air, and all the Oisias flew in the room. In the Luft. And some of the birds, Mitzad Ma'aloso, they catch the oases. The oases get caught in what you might call their mahus, and through their chirping, they give back out these oases. And they literally throw these oases and bounce them one to the other, even though they don't know what they're saying. It's not the pshat that they really understand. It's the fact that they have this chirping and they have this ability to give things out upon him, that the oishis are killing mizgal b'teich, and they give them out. That's what he means. They understood the sichas ha'oifes. Or we could say b'derech, because that's written clearly what I just said. Or we could say there's another thing, that not that they speak b'oishis adibur, but their sounds and their chirps. For this thing. Give over some sort of a message one to the other. It's not dibur holidays. It's not dibur, but even what we have dibur. And Mamela, those sounds that they produced one to the other was they're like a form of a message that they sent certain messages. But not what the Arizal and Shlomo HaMelech bothered themselves to listen to their mitzad Indians, even though by Shlomo HaMelech they hadn't yet been the Indian of the, but we have to say that mitzad the Shviras HaKelim and mitzad the Chetei Tzadas and mitzad other Inyanim, there are all the Oisias Kedoshis in the air, and the birds literally sort of threw them one to the other, Therefore, Shlomo HaMelech bothered himself to listen to what they were saying. Of his time, Kosher Lahovin, what would he have had? The Havana Zu. Al Chaponim, says the Rebbe, the Indian from Dibur is also described as one of the etzem milas in the order, and on the contrary, sometimes mashma, that's an even higher mila than the Indian of Chochmah v'Seichel, because the ability to talk to one another is an unbelievable thing. When you think about it, you give out in oisius, and you produce words and sentences that the other person, mamish, that's the whole Indian of life is based on that. The whole Indian of Dibur is a most amazing phenomenon when you think of it. Is Dibur. And that's what he says. We can also say that's the same pattern of Svara, that is mitzad the Maila of the Nefesh. Not so much it's a koyah, which is Misachi, but that's mitzad the etzem definitional Maila of the Nefesh. But Kamoisha Maila Sa'adam B'pinas HaDibur Shubohi Harizeh mitzad HaNefesh. So the Rebbe said the same thing. She begins Nefesh HaMidaberet. Yeah, it's called Nefesh HaMidaberet. So we have another name. Either Nefesh HaMaskelet or Nefesh HaMidaberet. V'al keina nefesh malaya oisiyes. And therefore the Rebbe said that the etzem nefesh, when we say a nefesh malaya oisiyes, then it's mavur in Torah over there, and some places in Lakutei Torah, that means that the etzem nefesh, the nefesh k'moshu mamish l'mayla mi gilui kol hakoychos, is mamish full of oisiyes. Kavyochol, oisiyes are an etzem part, or they are an etzem makeup, as you might say, of the shleimus of the etzem. And that means Oishis how they're beklal beyond the whole Indian from Dibur, even the Indian of Oishis how they are in the Indian from Seichel. That's a higher madrega. In Nefesh Malaya Oishis. When I say Nefesh Malaya Oishis, I mean the Etzem. In other words, that the Eibishter made the Etzem and Nefesh with an ability to produce these forms of his galus, which are called Oishis. So the Rebbe says, okay, my Cain, okay, na nefesh malaya oisius. But it's moving over there that the union of Dibur, nefesh hamidaberes, mitzad this maila, that the nefesh be etzem, has oisius. K'moy kein ma'alosi b'chochma v'seichel u'mitzad ha-nefesh. The yoyse nefesh o odom, al kein yesh b'chochma. Samer antikizah. Said that mitzad the etzem maila and definition b'shor shel maila of the nefesh, she's be'etzem ha'inyan shel seichel. She comes from those madregas in Elikus. What the chochma bohem is kol inyonim or kol is kabruso is in the inyan of chochma. Since his nefesh stems from there, that's mitzad that gilui nefesh. Mameva has in itself the inyan of chochma. Not that we made a nefesh, and one of the koiches we gave the nefesh was chochma. No, the inyan from chochma is mitzad the mailas ha'etzem mamish. Nimta, the mipnei she'etzem ha'nefesh hu b'madregas chochma. And now he warns, hagam she'enu chochma v'seichel klal. Here we sort of, here the pudding thickens slightly, because here we're saying that the whole mailas ha'etzem is the inyan from chochma. Mitzad the Mailas HaEtzem is the Indian from Chochmah. And now the Rebbe said, wait a minute, it's Mavur B'Kolam HaKeim is that HaNefesh Einu Seichel, in the famous Maila that everybody learns in Vayikra over there in Lakutei Torah, right near the beginning, the famous Maimon that the Etzem HaNefesh is not Seichel. V'loi Koyach HaChochmah Shebo is the Etzem HaNefesh. The Etzem HaNefesh is V'Maila Mizeh. So therefore we have to play it carefully. It says the Rebbe Hagam she'enu chochma v'seichel klal, that the etzem hanefesh is not chochma v'seichel. Now the fact that she has chochma v'seichel, doesn't mitzad the maila of the etzem. Of eina chanami, etzem ha-etzem is not seichel. No, the seichel is a gilui, what you might call the gehoimkeit of the nefesh. Of not that it is mamish etzem hanefesh. Even though we're going to see later on that it's not all that terribly far from it. He says, "Hu asiba lamatzias koyach hachochma sheboi." The fact that the Eibishter gave the nefesh out of Olam HaAtzilus. So we have to say that even though Olam HaAtzilus is described as Oirach Atzilus Hu Chochma, aber Afu Pikein Olam HaAtzilus is Elikus, and nobody would say that Elikus B'etzem is Chochma. What we mean is that the Eibishter allows that he should be misachid with Chochma. That's all we need. Ahu v'Chochmasa Echad. Over there's Hu v'Chochmasa. And it's in a Reiv van Echad. But nobody would say that Chochmasa Hu. They always say Hu v'Chochmasa Echad. The Hu always remains Muvdal. The same thing in the Nefesh. That even though the Chochmah is mitzad ma'alosei, but not that is the etzem mamish. So therefore he says, Hu asiba lamatzias koyach ha-chochmah shebo. So shenikra nefesh ha-meskeles hagam sha-nefesh ein ha-chochmah v'seicho. Ach, v'yoyis da mahus ha-nefesh atzma hu asiba lamatzias ha-chochmah v'seicho, hari ze misachit boi b'chinas achtus mamish ad shenikra al shem nefesh hamaskele. So here we notice all of a sudden that we come in here with the word siba, right? The word siba has flown through here already 2 or 3 times. That the mile of the etzem nefesh is the siba of chokhmah. Now it's well known in Chassidus that there's an inif and what sometimes we call ilo va'olo. So ilo va'olo is not cause and effect. Ilo va'olo is that one thing is b'mera koilul in itself, the other, and by functioning it gives out what the love it's got p'toich. When I say siba or masuba, I mean dvarim that are muvdolim semis. On a siba and its masuvevas are not necessarily kol one and the other necessarily, and they're not necessarily craving be'etzem minyonim or mausa one to the other. Now, if there's one, if there's A, then that can produce your B of a low and an oven of not that in B you've got a whole of A. Well, because of A, that's why there's B. Now, that's what's called siba. What siba always indicates a in so therefore, the Rebbe is trying to move here on both chasnas. On the one hand, he's trying to say that Chochmah is mitzad the Meilas etzem. On base, we're trying to say, but the etzem is not Chochmah. No, Chochmah is mitzad the Meilas etzem. And therefore, he uses the expression that the etzem is a sibah to the union of Chochmah. But what you say that, then you preserve the havdolah of the etzem, and at the same time, you have the union of Chochmah being mitzad the union of the Dover HaMesavevoto. Mamira, you can have both. Therefore, he's careful to say that Al Chopon, the Chochmah Gluya, which comes out, but that Chochmah the Atzilus, or Chochmah B'Nefesh HaOdom, then that's only the Etzem is a Siba to the Matzias HaChochmah. Yeah, therefore it's called Nefesh HaMaskelos, Agam SheNefesh Ein HaChochmah. Ach le'esh the Mahus HaNefesh Atzma, Hu Siba Lamatzias HaChochmah V'Seicho, Ari Ze Misachet Boi, b'chinas achtas mamish, ad shenikra al shem nefesh hamaskelet. So here we see that the Indian from the word siba, because we've got to be careful the way we define it. We said that the Indian from siba means a dova rochik. But we have to say that once a siba is mahava amisuveves, again it's not necessarily that the siba and the Dova HaMasur are mamish the same, and they're not necessarily machayev one the other. But once the Sibba is brought about a Masurov, then the Masurov and the Sibba are kilo ainoach. They're kilo mamish the same thing. And the Rebbe said that since the union of the etzem is a Sibba to the union of Chochmah, and therefore ultimately they mamish get together and they become one and the same thing. Because once you get to the cause, you automatically understand the effect. But not that you necessarily had to have the effect, mitzad the cause. But once the cause has brought about the effect, then that's clear that the cause has united itself with that particular inyan. It's allowed itself to be involved, be inyan there, even though mitzad atzmei it has a certain avdolah mizeh. Yesh b'zeh avdola mitzuyam, as we say. And if you medactic in the inyan from Sibur or Mesuva of Chassidus, then you'll find that that's one of the inyanim shaboy. The etzem Sibur or Mesuva ein lehem hechreya klal, one to the other. Or once the Sibur, as it were, produced a Mesuva, then the Maila of the Sibur has involved itself with the Mesuva. And then they become killed like one inyan. Therefore, the old saying has it: if you find the cause, then you've already got back to the whole problem. If you get to the emes cause of the inyan, then you can know what is the problem. Or al chapani, you automatically matachin the whole problem. How do they say? To define the thing as something is chotzi arafua. How do you call it? Diagnosing something is chotzi arafua. When you know what the Sibba is, then you already got halfway to the whole tikkun. Because the Sibba and the Mesuva were over echad. Even though mitzad etzem minyonim ein lehem necessarily kesher mitzad etzem mahusam kesher one with the other. However, that's, if you look carefully, that's what he's playing here with these two inyonim. On the one hand, he says it's really mitzad the mile of the other. Then he said, wait a minute, but the etzem is not that beklav. And therefore he uses the word Sibba. ומובן מזה, החוכמה אינו עצמוס הנפש, ויש לו סיבו, ואך הסיבו לחוכמה הוא עצמוס הנפש. That's what we're just trying to say. It's like having a cake and eat it too. Yeah, there's a sibba, but that's the atzmas. But not that the fact that the atzmas is a sibba makes it into that. Al chaponim, it causes an inseparable kesher between them.
Sibur is not mechayev suva? Sibur is not mechayev.
Mitzad etzem minyone, the sibur is not mufuyah to give forth a mesuva. Once he does, then akil they become one inyan. Understand? More than an ilav ha'ol, much more than an ilav ha'ol. But mitzad etzem ma'alosom, it's not necessarily that must be one the other. The sibur is mudo be etzem minyone from them. So and that's what he keeps saying, that the etzem hanefesh b'klal is not chokma. Or the chokma is kira mesuva from the etzem. So he says, ויש לו סיבו, רק הסיבו לחוכמה הוא עצמוס דנפש. והיינו מבחינת התיינוג שבנפש, שהתיינוג הוא עצמוס הנפש, והוא מבחינת פנימי שבוי. In other words, says the Rebbe, that what is that? What is the עצמוס הנפש? Tainug. In Vamira, we're going to see that we're going to really dance here on these two chasnas now the whole way. On the one hand, we're going to say that Tainug is the etzem hanefesh, and we're going to say that Chochma is only a gilui b'dirat mesuvevas from the infant Tainug, which means that they're separate one from the other. And then he's going to swing the whole issue and say, Oval BMS, and he keeps writing, Oval BMS, we'll see, that the Indian van Oining and Chokma is Oisador. Mamish Oining van Chokma Oisador. So, you can't have your cake and eat it. So we'll see as we go along that there are two Inyanim in Chokma. There's an Indian van Chokma Kamoishu, Chokma Datzilas, or Chokma Benefesh, or they come into the Indian of a certain Yerida Miaoinig B'derch Sibur Mesuva, like a certain distance, as we said, or they retain a tremendous kesher one with the other. And B'pnimiusam, the mamish one and the same thing. And B'pnimiusam, Iyar Shalabdil B'nayim Klau, which means that there's a inifan gadlus HaChochma, and a mitius HaTainu, but there they become not like a Sibur and a Mesuva, but there they become mamish one inyan. In other words, that a mitius atzmius a chokhmah and oinig a mamish oisador. And that's what's going to, with that he's going to answer the pnimis atik, pnimis abba, he pnimis atik. So how can you say such a thing? Pnimis abba, he pnimis atik? Oh yeah, that's what we're going to say. But we'll see about that in future episodes, basically. So here it's the most amazing piece. I mean, you can see how if you would have been left with certain inyonim in Chassidus, it would have been hard to put these things together. Particularly much at that piece in the Likutei Torah, and so on, you would have known what you were talking about. You would never understood the whole binyan or inyan. So here the Rebbe is building it all together for you in a most amazing picture. And we can understand why it is that we say Pnimis Abba hi Pnimis Atik, which means that Mitzad Echad Abba is not Atik. Yeah? Or Pnimis Abba, Pnimis Atik, the Mamish Oisa Hadova, until we're going to see that there's even a Maila in Pnimis Abba. The Mitzad Gila Pnimis Atik in Pnimis Abba is even higher than it is Mitzad Atik Atik. Das ist die Kavanah Amiti ist, that's Kilo Kaviocha, the Avish himself, appears here and makes that happen. And that's not there in Atik Mitzad Atzma. So it's very tiffy, no? So we'll see as we go along. At the beginning, I was very pleased to see that Mamish in Likutei Torah over there in the Ha'oras, it's a very big thing, these Ha'oras that they got in Likutei Torah. Mamish, they Makasha, the two in Yon, and they Makasha with this chapter here in the Iyar. They say, I think it's Mashiach. So we'll see more about that Be'ez Hashem as we go along. So what it means is that cause and effect are not necessarily, but once they do become involved, then so we've got to realize what are the causes of the Inonim over here. We've got to know. We've got to know if we get to the cause, then we got to the Shira Shumacha Kala Inyan. And maybe one of the causes is that nobody really understands the Rebbe. Or even those who are so mishchestim, when we cough it, do we really understand what he was after? The whole uniform Mashiach is Ayin lo yirosa Elokim zulasach. As they state in Ayin Pesach, in some of all huge arichas about the Gilead, Achrei Yemois Mashiach, etc. He said the Rebbe wanted that Ayin lo yirosa Elokim zulasach. That should become our day-to-day. This is the Totei Chalem. We live with it. It's very hard to demand of a movement, a human being, as I'm so tough. And those are the Rebbe. The Rebbe lived with it. He was mamish in the Yemois Mashiach, and he still was able to, be mani tzayid ma'arisik in the last Yisuri Hagolas, but he was already there in the. And he said, "Open your eyes, guys." And there it is. That's a very difficult demand. You've got to continually renew yourself. You've got to get to the Pnimis Ayin and continually remind yourself. It should be. It's very easy to fall by the way. Fall back into Elam Kaminhoga Noyek. Sort of fall back. The Rebbe didn't want you to get caught in that the whole time. You've got to live on another level altogether. It's very, very, very amazing demand. Those are the pshat here. Pnimis Abba hi Pnimis Atik. There's a point where the Etzem, Madrigas HaKeser, Afilu B'od Yoter Naila becomes the Metzias of the Misave, the Shechach. And that's the Rebbe. The Rebbe had left him to away that even though he was in the Agbola from the Misave, at fingers and the ganze Atzma Shabbat. If you look at this Maimon, keep coming back to this word Atzma. You ever notice it? In a lot of Maimorim of the Rebbe, it's all the word Atzmas, flows all through these Atzmas Sir, Atzmas something else. And a lot of times it's Atzmas without anything. Understood that? And there were all sorts of strange things come out in the Rebbe's Maimorim. They find it hard to figure. I had in South Africa, some guys asked me, a showman from from Toshin Yud Aleph in the very first Maimon. And once your mom making that is, and you come to the beer Amida that. That's andere cook. But the interesting thing is that in a lot of those Maimorim where these amazing chidushim occur, there's quotes from my base. I feel in the Mugoy, the Simon there steckt the ganze Indian, and the Rebbe was just mefaneach what's really written. The Rebbe brought it out, that the last generation of the Gold should live with those statements. I've noticed it in many cases. Dafke from the iron base fast stories of the other unbelievable things that the Rebbe said. And therefore somebody asked me once, what's the deen of an iron base? I said, it's a navur of Liosik Love. The whole iron base is like a navur. What's going to be there?